We delve into the heart of what truly matters, our families. Healthy families make healthy societies. I'm Randy.
And I'm Leslie. We're diving deep into the powerful insights of Dr. Randy's groundbreaking book, The Family Legacy: Shaping Culture from the Inside Out.
Hear inspiring stories and strategies to transform your family. We'll explore topics like communication, forgiveness, healing, parenting, marriage. We'll cover it all.
We'll have provoking conversations with experts, coaches, and real-life families who are benefiting from intentional family building.
This podcast isn't just about theories, it's about tools that you can implement today.
We all come from families, so this podcast is for you.
Join us on this incredible family journey. Subscribe now as we learn to do family as God designed.
Transforming families one episode at a time. Remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end. Let's go.
Hi there. Welcome back. This is Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. I'm Randy.
I'm Leslie.
And we're excited today again because we are launching into a new segment in the podcast here in season 2. And we're starting today with our Family Forum segment. And in the Family Forum segment, we're going to be taking on hot topics for the family in culture. Mm-hmm. Certainly right now in the United States, I know we have a lot of international listeners, and I think in many ways it's the same where you're from because of the globalist and the elite agenda that's at work in many nations, the globalization of the world. But for us, certainly here in the United States of America right now, we have a very big hot topic for families, and that is in the area of educating our children in education. So we are thrilled today to have even one of our own family coaches, our experts that's with us, who is going to help us talk through this issue today. And I hope that you'll give it a listen, because this couldn't be any more important for the future of our nation and our generation. So would you welcome Lorene Sherwood, all the way here from Charlotte, North Carolina. There she is. Hi, Lorene.
Hi.
Great to have you with us.
Yes.
And so we understand that, you've got, honestly, one of the cutest little guys I've ever seen, truthfully. And in your family with your husband, Adam, you guys are making decisions about, okay, wow, we need to start thinking about how we're going to educate Luke. What is it for us? And you've been really wading through that, and you've made some decisions. I'm going to leave it wide open. What's your process been like? What are the things you're thinking of? How have you come to a decision, and so forth? So yeah, share with us.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. First thing I want to say is that I recognize it's an honor and a privilege that we have the opportunity as a family to even entertain homeschool. I know that not all families can do that, and some families choose not to. And so I wish that wasn't the case, that everyone was afforded the opportunity to entertain that. And so I feel very blessed. So that, first and foremost, just really thankful for that. But yeah, a lot went into the decision, and it was fairly easy. I myself grew up in public school, right, in the 80s and 90s. My husband went to a private Catholic school. So we kind of have different worlds there, but I think we can all attest that school is not what it used to be. Culture is not what it used to be, right? Like, yeah, we went out and played, and, until the sun went down, and when dad whistled, that was our cue to come home. And now I don't even know if I would let my son out of my sight outside nowadays. And so, it's just different. I think about things like what's being taught. We'll leave it at that. I think we can all kind of agree that there are just some things that are being pushed and that are being taught that are against our values as Christian parents.
Actually, could I prompt you a little? Can you be a little more specific? What are some of the issues that? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, let's be real. This transgenderism, hey, you're 10 and you're born a girl, but you say you want to be a boy. So let's validate that, and let's give you puberty blockers, and hey, other kids, you can be whatever you want. And the litter pan is in this classroom because Susie really goes by Moth and she thinks she's a cat.
Let's keep that secret from parents.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Right, so and it's gone way beyond. Yeah.
Yes. And then there are some places, I just read a story of parents the other day in Canada who lost custody of their daughter because they weren't going along with, her wanting to move along this gender reassignment path.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, that's just one. And I don't say that from a place of judgment. It's just like logical, like,
and it's against your core value.
Well,
yes.
When we put it into the scientific community, even, it's lunacy when science tells us that the human brain is not fully developed until age 25.
Mm-hmm.
Then how can we possibly with any kind of moral compass, not even a faith-based moral compass, but a moral compass on pushing children and giving them access to making decisions that they're not even biologically capable of making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of, to your point, a lot of parents and people in general are, well, it's loving to affirm my child. And I would disagree with that actually the most loving thing you can do is affirm them in their identity in Christ. And if we're talking gender, like, I love you, son, and you are absolutely not a girl. And there's nothing that you can do to actually be, become one. You can dress up or whatever, but it's so funny. There's so many people out there that are, over the last couple of years, I think we all heard so many times, trust the science, but that seems to have been abandoned when it comes to basic biology. And I'm like, what?
Right.
So
it sure makes a lot of money for big pharma.
Oh, it sure does. Yes. So, yeah. So, it's just back to the whole, that was one of the things is there's just a lot that's being taught that, and I don't want to shelter my son. He will be out in the real world one day. I just want him to be able to defend his faith and his character and his integrity in a way that is loving to other people, but also isn't condoning, sinful behavior either. And so, yeah. And then there are other things like just the institution, the way school is set up. I've gone down a lot of rabbit holes. The way the initial institution was set up, it is set up to fail children, especially young boys. And I have a son who's not even 2. And so when you look at the rates of ADHD that are being diagnosed, especially in young boys, I can't sit still for 8 hours. I can't sit still for 4 hours. I need a break. I need to sip on water. I need to make a phone call. I want some fresh air. I might need to just go pet my cat. And so this whole thinking of we're creating really robots, sit still, do as you're told, single file, sit in a desk. You don't work together, the standardized test. And I'm like, what are we doing to these poor children? Like, that is not how children learn. And when I think about my son and I just look at his precious face, I don't want him to learn facts. I want him to learn to critically think, and I want him to enjoy learning. And I don't know about you guys, I've not once ever used the Pythagorean theorem in my life. And so, like, why are we learning silly stuff like that if you're not a senior at university, right, with studying calculus versus things like emotional intelligence and how to manage money.
Yeah.
So,
and these are your choices about how you and your husband want to raise your son.
Yes.
And this is really another big piece of this. We can argue the details, but ultimately in this country, the way it was founded and the way our laws are written, we're supposed to have some choice, some freedom of speech, some freedom of religion, some freedom. And so with that comes that parents, in my view, and I hear this in you, ought to have the power to choose how they want to educate their children, how they want to do that. And to take away those choices by mandating certain ways of thinking, mandating a whole bunch. I mean, we could go on and on, right? I mean, there's critical race theory, there's bullying, there's
gun violence.
Yeah. And there's just so many unhealthy things happening in our public schools. And we believe, I know you do too, and we'll get to this, but at the core of it is because here we are, human beings, choosing to educate our children outside of the way God designed it to happen.
Yeah.
We're giving that responsibility to the government, whoever that is. And if they're not God's government, then we're in trouble. And
it's
that's
a bad idea.
So So you're looking at these issues, and you and Adam are talking. What are we going to do? And then what does that decision process lead to?
So yeah, I mean, it really led to an exploration of, I'm pretty sure this is what I want to do. And so much, I would say 9 out of 10 of my girlfriends are homeschooling. And so from there it was, okay, let's deep dive. Like what does that mean?
Yeah.
It is going to be a sacrifice, but I believe one that will benefit our entire family and especially our son. Um, and so, yeah, it's okay. What will this practically look like in the day to day? I mean, I do some work for ministry, and my husband works, and so balancing that, but understanding for a season, my son will come first, and so it's just been a lot of. I had no idea there are so many different homeschooling types. There's unschooling. There's Charlotte Mason. There's 3 main other ones that I can't remember right now, but so it's really, and I mean, like I said, my son is less than 2, but the information out there is overwhelming. And so I've just ordered a book that I'm excited to dive into, because really the start of that is, what is my teaching style? So learning that, and I have no clue, I'm not a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And what is my son's learning style, and finding a way to bridge that gap so that the
Mm-hmm.
teaching and the learning is just really seamless and we're both having fun, because I don't think that this is just about him learning things just to learn them. I mean, again, I probably don't remember most of anything that I learned, like college, grad school, high school, the whole thing. And so, yeah, it's about, I want to have fun, and I'm excited to learn alongside him,
Yeah.
truthfully, all the stuff that I don't remember.
Yeah. And that comes with a big price. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not only in just paying for the education, but your time, right? This is a big decision. How many years, how many hours?
Yep.
And but it really comes down to you're committed.
I am committed. When you look at the way traditional school is, where, I don't know, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then, kids are coming home, and then it's homework on top of that. I'm like, don't even get me started on homework. I think homework is a ploy to position children to be okay with taking work home from the office.
Mm,
It's like a natural, like, oh, I've just worked 8 hours at the office, and instead of going home and being with my family and relaxing or doing whatever, now I have to do 2 hours of computer work. And
mm.
it's that, to me, I could be wrong. It just feels like it's programming our children to be okay with living like that. And I
Yeah,
just don't agree with that. Um,
yeah.
yeah. And so anyway, I digress. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
There's a quote, and it's been popping around our house again here the last 24 hours, and that is that we have the fill in the blank that we're most willing to tolerate.
Yes.
We have the education system we're willing to tolerate. We have the quality of marriage that we're willing to tolerate. We have
Mhm.
the quality of parenting, or our faith, our walk with God. We have whatever we have because
Yeah.
that's what we're most committed to, and we're willing to tolerate what we have. And if we're not willing to tolerate it and we're willing to do something different, then that comes from a place of deep commitment. And,
Yeah.
and that's really what I see, not only in you, but you look across our country right now, and there's this mama bear movement, right? And mama bears are mothers who are standing up to the school boards, to the school systems, to the teachers, to the man, and they're standing up, as it were, and saying, no, this is not okay, and I'm not going to just take it. I'm going to be a
Yeah.
change agent. That, like, you're not going to do that to my kid. You're not going to put those books, those sexually explicit books, in my
Ugh.
library for my kids. You're not going to
Right.
have sex education with multiple gender identities for 3rd grade. You're not for my kid.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And they're saying so, and then the repercussions are, well, I'm going to homeschool, or like you mentioned, there's homeschool co-ops,
Yes.
and I don't know what else is.
Yeah, there's charter schools.
Mhm.
There's the good thing that I will say about this, to just not talk about the doom and gloom of our education system. To your point, Randy, there are parents that are rising up, and they are going to the school boards, and they are having their voices heard while they still can. You still have a voice in this country. We had a guest on some time ago, Matthew Pallant, and he was talking about parental rights and
Mm.
the education system. So if you're that parent that, man, look, we're both, it requires a 2 income just to make our our rent or our mortgage and just basic living expenses. I wish we could homeschool. That's not an option for us. And we can say we all do what we're most committed to, and that's true. But I want our listeners to also be empowered with some hope. You do have a voice, you do have rights,
Mhm.
and to exercise those from a place of core value.
Mhm.
And while this is not a podcast around core values, I want to encourage our listeners to take a little time over the next some days, weeks, whatever, and revisit what your core values are. And if you don't know, there's so much out there. Just Google core values, how to determine what they are. You're going to get a plethora of information. You can go to our website and ask us. We have some resources around that as well. And so when it comes to educating our children, it is by God's design that is done in the scope of family. Government, as God designed, is a family.
Yeah.
His first government.
That's right. And you are not powerless. You're not powerless in this. You may not be able to homeschool. And maybe you can. Maybe there's things that you haven't considered that are out there, that are options. Let's not be defeatists and remember that we serve a God of endless resources.
Yes.
But it requires us stepping into our own true identity as sons and daughters and the belief system that we have access to the resource of heaven to educate our children.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
We're going to go to a break in a minute. Before we do, talk to us about, you said that you've been diving in and finding out, what other kinds of things have you been doing just to kind of prime the pump and get going on this? You were mentioning something to us before the call, daily, something that you're doing.
Oh yeah. So it's, love the work that you guys do. You all teach so much on emotional intelligence. Not only what is it, but practically, how do you implement XYZ in your home today with your family, creating a culture in your home that's safe, supportive, loving, fun, all of that stuff. And so I've taken a lot of I've taken 7 of the emotional intelligence protocol tools, and I implement them one each day. I have a schedule. And so trying to start, it's more so for me at this point. Luke is running around the room as I'm talking about facts or whatever. And so, but he's 18 months. That's what I expect him to do, right? Yeah. I'm not a drill. Sit down and listen. And so it's more practice for me right now. And our lessons are daily. We work out together in the mornings, which consists of him crawling on me, and then, and then we jump into a 10-15 minute, segment on EQ. And that's the stuff that our schools aren't teaching that I think is important. Yeah. And so, today was Fact Story.
Every Friday.
Yeah, Fact Story Friday. We talk about empathetic listening, how to speak the truth in love, like what does that look like, and pulling out your resources and using them as a guide as I'm teaching him. And today we did Fact Story, and I actually used a practical example from yesterday that mommy had a bad story about something dad said. And because I caught it quick, right, that maintained the connection and the oneness and our family, because that's what God is about. And so, I'm starting real small, implementing day to day. And of course, he's learning his body parts. The kid knows almost 50 words, and, he's learning numbers and all the other things. But my main focus from an intentional, structured, like, what does this look like when it then goes to 2 hours a day, starting with the emotional intelligence pieces and just talking to him about it.
So good. So in this, you've just decided that you're going to homeschool Luke. And you're getting started even now, and he's like 2. So wow, thank you. And you're taking responsibility for that. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about what's going on nationally and what's really God's design biblically for educating our children and how that might look for some of you. We'll be right back in just a moment after this word. Introducing the Family Digital Bundle, a powerful collection designed to transform your family's journey towards healing, growth, and thriving.
At the heart of this bundle is the best-selling book and workbook, The Family Legacy: Shaping Culture from the Inside Out, written by Dr. Randall Bixby.
With insightful wisdom and practical advice, these resources offer a roadmap for building a strong family legacy that shapes the culture of generations to come.
But that's not all. Our family digital bundle includes an e-course, over 9 hours of how-to videos, equipping you with practical tools and expert guidance to help your family.
Imagine your family, a place where love, growth, and connection come together. Isn't it time to build a better family? If not now, when?
Invest in your family. Order the Family Digital Bundle today by clicking the link below or visit our website, thefamilyreformationproject.com. Welcome back to Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. We have Lorene Sherwood with us today, and we are having a conversation around how to educate our children in today's environment.
Yeah. So, it's very easy, I think, to see, because it's in the news almost every day, certainly every week, issues around education and our children and how different states are handling it, for example. What have you noticed that's happening out there nationally?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously my initial focus has been on the state that I'm in, right?
Mm-hmm.
North Carolina. What the laws are as far as reporting that I need to do, the ease. Some states have more flexible law, regulations around homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
My concern moving forward is that more states are going to be pulling that. I think my guess is, sorry, I try to tread lightly. I don't want to offend anyone, but let's just be like this current administration, right? They are all like, they want to control everything. They are trying to take away every freedom we have. And I am concerned for parents. And so, when Leslie was talking about parents, we still have a voice. There will be a time where this mama bear movement is going to get real loud, right? And real growly if we are going to be bumping up against no, homeschooling is no longer an option. All kids have to go to public school or, you fund private school.
Yeah. There's an interesting phenomenon, and it's not just around education, but education is one of the places in our country right now. There's a real alienation of states. There are, for their political term, red states and blue states. And what you're having is families are deciding to move to states that are more in alignment and agreement with them and their values. And so there's this polarization that is happening at really record speed. And last year, I was just reading before our call here, last year in 2023, 7 more states adopted universal education legislation. This year, in 2024, they are already 5 states in the pipeline to make that decision. Those coupled with states already doing it, there is a move of many states now that are saying, hey, the federal dollars that we get for education and that we put in education, we're going to be able to decide in our state that money's following the students. So whatever the family and the students choose, school choice, how they want to educate their kid, whether that's homeschool, charter school, co-op school, private school, whatever, the money that is paid by taxpayers and given out is going to allow them to make that choice. Of course, what that is creating is a massive divide. The largest lobby in Washington, D.C., as I understand it, is the teachers' unions. Which is staggering because I would think it might be pharmaceuticals or something else, but it's teachers' unions. They want control and education of those dollars. They want the seats in these buildings and the teachers. And unfortunately, in my view, I'll speak for myself, in giving that kind of control to the government and forcing families to have one choice for educating their kids, while in some economic structures in some cities, that's a benefit. We have a larger number of educated students in our total population, and that's good. When it comes time for all of these hot topic issues that are definitely against a person's faith, stance and beliefs or core values, and you're forcing that on everybody, then that gets really problematic. So,
I just say, I know my biggest concern as a mom myself, and I've got lots of grandchildren now. Some are being publicly educated, some are not. Is that we are forcing ideas into young minds that don't have the maturity level to comprehend. And so it is a way, and you can't not unsee this. If you can form the young minds, you can control them. And it's cruel, it's manipulative, it is unloving to put any child, and I'm not just talking about the United States, to put any child in an environment where they don't get to be children and to develop and grow the way they were designed to develop and grow in a learning environment, not in an environment where they're just being fed, indoctrinated, where they're not being taught how to think for themselves.
Well, because
there's no critical thinking going on, and it's not age appropriate. And I think that hurts my mama heart more than anything else, is that that the children are being made to make decisions that they're not mature enough to make. They're children.
Leslie, you're so right. And all we have to do is look at culture. And I will say this last 3 years, right, with all this COVID stuff, really opened my eyes. And I thought that they were open before. But just to your point, it's then you've created yes men and yes women, because they're not taught to critically think. It's, I'm going to do what the government says because they have my best interest in mind, and because they have been taught, for 12 years to sit in a desk and you're told this and that's what's right and that's it. There's no, you don't debate, you don't ask questions. Like, this is the right answer on the test.
And you're shamed if you have any kind of disagreement. Where back, in the olden days in higher education, that debate system was done in such a beautiful way, where you could bring your differences and you could talk about them in a mature, adult, emotionally intelligent way, because you were grown and you had those skills of how to communicate with somebody that disagreed with you. Everybody at some point in this country, which makes it so incredibly amazing, is that you can choose. You do get to choose how you want to live your life. And so, wonderful, go live your life that way. But but give a child the chance to grow up in a clean, healthy environment where they can come to their own revelation, because they know how to think for themselves.
And a place to play in doing so. I mean, even adults, and there's so much science out there, kids learn best through play. And I mean, we do too. If something is fun and engaging, I'm retaining more. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing, versus sitting there and it's like, you're just staring at a screen and someone's yammering on. And school they're removing PE and band and all of these things. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing?
I want to make this last point, because I think it's so important. What they're doing, to answer your question, is they're choosing not to do family and education as God designed. That's the choice.
Right.
And so we believe here at the Family Reformation Project, and that's all of our teaching in the family school and with our family coach, is that God is the designer of us. We were made in his image and in his likeness, and in a garden, a literal garden, that he made Adam, and then he brought Eve out of his side, and he put them back together, and he told them something. He said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and govern it. And right there, he gave the charge of educating our children to the parents, to family. That be fruitful piece, simply, it doesn't mean have a lot of kids. That's the multiply part. The fruitful part means be what I made you to be. And make sure that you, which is basically was him inside of a human body. The
Yeah.
first Adam, when God made us out of the ground and breathed into us, that's who we were. And then he says, so continue to make me inside of your children in a way that they can make me inside of their children, because that's
Yeah.
my design.
Yeah.
So that was his government. That was his education. That was his family. That was, right. Even enterprise came out of. And so we believe that to get and do education as God designed means the parents are absolutely integrally involved. We're not saying everybody needs to homeschool. That's a choice. But who's making the decisions for how their kids are being educated,
Yes.
what the curriculums are, what experiences they have, what is allowed and not allowed in these places where our students might be, all of, right on down the line. Are they going to get truth as God designed it and we believe is communicated through the Bible? Or is it just going to be the next best idea of a human being apart from God?
Yeah.
And this is to us, this is the core of the core issue. Are we going to do family and educate our kids as God designed, or are we going to not?
Yeah. I mean, you're so right. You look at culture now and everything is geared toward acceptance and not love. They confuse the two. It's I accept this person and their lifestyle and their beliefs because I'm loving. But our God says, no, point them to the truth. Like our feelings aren't truth. Like that, this acceptance and love thing is just not, and just one other thing, as a side note, as you guys are talking, when you think far back, even to the feminist movement, what a disservice that's done to the family unit and how people have capitalized on that. And so, you look at families and so many people want to say, well, men are weak and they're not standing up. And it's like, well, women have a little bit of, responsibility in this too, but it's been passed down. Well, I can do what a man can do. And I, want to go in the workforce, and the government and the powers that be have capitalized on that, because if you get mom out of the house, then the kids are forced into public school. Right. And it's like women are distinctly different from men. And if everyone knew their identity, I guarantee we'd have more stay-at-home moms and homemakers and homeschoolers who like embrace that. And it's not, well, I want to be like a man. Like you can't. Like you're designed different, and your our families need mom and dad's functioning, right, according to his design. That's the best way to serve the children.
Yeah, so. There's so much here, and there's a lot of parallel issues that flow along with this. But at the Family Reformation Project, that's what we believe. We believe that families are created in the image of God, and when we do family as God designed, that heaven is experienced on earth the way God designed it, and culture's transformed as a result. Yeah. When our children are educated inside of God's design, when it's their turn to be the leaders in culture, they lead that way with love and courage and trust and service and kindness, and because God's inside of them, because they've been crafted in his image. Yes. And we got a long way to go to get back there, but we are so glad that you and Adam and Luke are in this journey with us. And, Arizona, where we're at, is one of those places where,
I know.
Yeah. The school choice is alive. In fact, I think Arizona was first in that.
I believe you're correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, well, listen, it's been great to have you. Any last thoughts here today?
No.
Any last?
No, just thanks for having me. It's been great.
Thank you so much. And remember this. Remember, whoever wins the family
wins the culture in the end.
See you next time. And that wraps up another inspiring episode of Transforming Families with Randy and Leslie. We hope that today's conversation has left you feeling empowered and equipped to take action.
Remember, transforming families begins with transforming ourselves. Let's be intentional, loving, and persevere. You're not alone. We're right here with you.
We believe Proverbs 24:3. Wise people are builders. They build families, businesses, and communities. Through intelligence and insight, their enterprises are established and endure.
Thanks for joining us today. We encourage you to stay connected with us on social media, join our email list, and learn more about our resources and classes at the Family School by visiting thefamilyreformationproject.com.
Remember to subscribe, share with your loved ones, and spread the word about transforming families. We'll see you on our next episode. And remember, whoever wins the family wins the culture in the end.